Yeah, it's like individualism. I was reading a little bit about that a while ago. I personally follow Stoicism. I can't remember the exact Roman king who, or emperor who made that, but it's pretty much pretty big on the way that individualism, right? And the way individualism works is with past experiences, with the way everything's worked out in the past, is you kind of transfer that out into your everyday life. So personally, for me, is the meaning to everyday life is just to live a life that is well lived. It's simple and it sounds ridiculous, but it's like you're just looking outside and you see someone smile, like, oh, that's nice. I see another person who's feeling happy. And then I smile too, right? I smile at maybe a joke my friend made. I smile at maybe when I'm eating something good. I smile when I finish a hard swim workout, right? And it's all just the small things in life. I think, especially with modern technology, we're led to believe that every single moment in our lives has to be monumental, like going out and getting married, our honeymoons, getting proposed to, going out to a carnival or a big rock and roll concert with 15 different friends, right? Like those are things that happen maybe once every few years, and those moments are to be cherished. But what we have to realize is everyday life is not like that. Everyday life, it's just all the small things, like stepping on a leaf and hearing it crack, things like that. It's just all the small things that really build up. All right. Yeah, but just to add a little bit more to that, um, you said that the meaning of life is it's not really one complete objective truth. And another thing that the Stoicists believe is that there is pretty much no such thing as an objective truth, right? Like for me, I could sit down and I could hammer down on a bottle of cranberry juice. But for you, on the other hand, you might not like cranberry juice, right? It's all just individual things. It's all the small things that kind of build us up. It's all the small things that give us character. And a lot of the time, I think especially in the modern world, we're led out and we're led astray as outcast because of what we believe. I mean, sometimes these could be monstrously bad things, um, like harming other people, right? But then sometimes they're just things like, oh, you have a different sense of humor. Okay, like that's not bothering anyone, but I think now we have to have a little bit more tolerance for being different, and it's just a big philosophy I've been trying to get down with some of my friends, right? Yeah. Well, I think what I'm talking about absolute truths, I'm generally talking about what we see as moral truths, right? So I think that when I step outside, I think the grass is green. Maybe it might be green to me, but we might see green in different shades, right? So I don't think there is probably one absolute truth. Like 2 plus 2 is 4. We've proven that 2 plus 2 is genuinely 4. But with things like morality, everyone has different morals, whether it's very, very subtle or very, very major, right? So I think, yes, Plato is right, but I'd like to reword the way I said that there are no absolute truths. There are no absolute truths to a philosophical extent. You can't say, And that's one of the things I don't like about modern politics. It's all an us versus them, like kind of ideal, and it really, I think it harms the way that we have tried to build up philosophy for thousands of years. I mean, I get that with modern technology, it's not helping out too much, but still, we need to understand that people might have different opinions than our own. So it makes it a little bit unnerving and a little bit unsettling when someone else has a different opinion as you. And we got to try to kind of lower those feelings of like anger and suppression down a little bit more. So another question I want to ask, and this one I think is pretty big. I've been thinking about it for a little while. What do you think, or do you think it's possible to know everything, or for the human race to know everything?
Well, if you believe that everything is infinite, then it's inherently impossible to erase at any point in time to know. But some people believe that when you go to heaven, God just reveals to you all the truth that there is. But just in this physical world, I don't think that we'd be able to know everything that we can't know.
Yeah. And I think it was Socrates who said this, and he said, "All that I know is that I know nothing," right? So pretty much, I mean, he's not saying that he knows nothing, but he's saying in the grand scheme of things, you pull out where you are, like what city you're in, what county you're in, what country you're in, what planet you're in, what solar system you're in, what galaxy you're in, and then it's just you're just so small. All your problems, everything you know, is just so small. But I think we should still give it value with that. But I think if the human race is to find out everything, it would obviously be very monumental. But it's just impossible. I mean, yes, we've been making a lot of sentient progress, and we've been making a lot of technological progress, but nowhere near to the point that the speed of light is expanding and has expanded. We can't catch up with that much information. Yes, you could argue that there's a big, massive thing of nothing outside of what we have right now. But still, what the light has created and what everything and what all this matter is made, it will take forever for us to actually figure that out. And also, that's putting into consideration that we don't all kill each other, right? So like that's just putting the marks up way too high. And for religion, do you want to add anything about religion? Oh yeah, and feel free to have yourself unmuted. It's no problem. But feel free to have yourself unmuted all the time. I should rephrase that if you want to add anything more. But so for religion, what I'd like to say is, me personally, I think that there might be a religion. I'm not to say whether there is or there is not one, but I think the way I see it is death is one of the biggest fears of modern man, right? And telling someone if they don't praise your God and do XYZ for your God, they're likely to follow it. Like if what the Catholics did back in, I think it was around the 1600s, and Martin Luther wrote the 50 question thesis, right? And it was pretty much just a massive critique on the Catholic Church. It was like, all right, so you want everyone to pay you X amount of money for indulgences, right? And it was all just this massive grab of money for the corruption that they were facing. And they might not be misleading the public right now, but I'm not to say what they are and what they aren't doing. And I think everything that with politics, with religion, is always to be taken with a grain of salt, because we don't know if it's 100% true.
Yeah, if there is a God, do you believe that the attitude at that time is not so valuable?
Well, it depends, because it depends on what religious faction you are. If you are Lutheranist, then you will not go with the power of the Pope. You'll say, oh, so he was corrupt. But then if you are a Calvinist, I'm pretty sure that it was the Calvinists who strictly believed in the Bible. It was either them or the Puritans. But if you're a Puritan, you would look at the Bible and you'd say, The Bible does not want you to do this. You are taking advantage of people's beliefs. And I can't remember where, but I'm pretty sure somewhere in the Old Testament. And it said that the man who takes advantage of God for money is going to be punished in hell eternally. So I don't think that it would be something for God, because for all I know, all that money was probably going to the fighting for Jerusalem. So I don't know. I don't know what to say, since I'm not part of either religious faction. But if I was to side on one side, I'd probably say that the popes were corrupt, because at the time you look at a lot of the conflicts and the things that are going on, and you're like, damn, this pope was not a good guy. Like, half the ones that we've had in the past weren't the best. I mean, I think even if you go up to the year, I think there's a gap between the year like maybe 800 and 1800, like when the popes were kind of a little bit corrupt, right? Because back then it was about money, and it was the only way to get very, very rich and powerful other than being a king. But that was inherited genetically, and not everyone is going to be born king, so I guess it's their best shot, and whoever's going to get it has the most power in that position, right? So I think it was probably just the Pope being greedy. I have a list of questions. Let me just pull them up real quick. All right. Now, I think we have mostly the same views on most things, but this one might differ a little bit. Do you think happiness is just dopamine, or do you find it to be something more than that? All right. So I actually happen to disagree with you on this one. Um, with dopamine, I think, at least the way I see it is, it's a reward system. I think we can both agree on that. Dopamine is a reward system set out from generations and generations of our past relatives. Like, that's why eating food, you eat something good, you feel happy. You read a book, you're acquiring knowledge, you feel happy. But then there are also chemical ways you can do it. Like, you can shoot heroin in your veins and you'll feel happy, because it alters the way your brain flows. So that's what kind of makes me think it's more of a chemical release than an actual like symbolic thing that God has given us. Because if you think about it, there are receptors in our brain that allow us to be happy. It's not like I don't think it's a God-given gift. I think it's more of a hereditarily gifted gift. Well, as I said earlier, there are some things in chocolate that are actually healthy. So, I was actually talking about this with someone's dad yesterday in the car, and I was like, yeah, why is sugar so addicting? Why does sugar make us happy? And his answer, it actually shocked me a little bit. So, sugar is addicting, or at least in my opinion, it makes us happy because it's the only thing that stimulates your brain, like out of all the other foods. It acts as a fuel, but the way that chocolate operates is a little bit different because there's I'm sure you know it. It's the same thing that's in plants. Crap, well, I'm blanking right now. You probably know what I'm talking about, right? Plants absorb the sunlight, making the water. No, it's not cytoplasm. It starts with like a G. All right, let's pull out the good old Google machine. Um, all right. It's not. Oh, glucose. My bad. It's glucose. I didn't start with the G. So yeah, our brain pretty much survives off glucose, and sugar is the only thing that does that. But chocolate is a more complex sugar, so it's not good for you, but it pretty much tricks the brain into thinking, oh, this is good for me. So you kind of like that a little bit more. So I think with the abuse of substances is why, that's exactly why I believe it is a chemical thing. Because if it wasn't, why would God make us happy when we have something bad? Like, it doesn't make sense. But then, of course, I'm not God. I wouldn't understand.
In Christianity, there's this idea of innocence, where after Adam and Eve sinned, all of creation was sin, and they had the inclination to want to sin. There are many ideas along the line. One is seen in Genesis, where Adam and Eve basically want to be, they want to have more power than God. They feel like they're not equal to God, and they want to become as powerful as Him. So they rebel against God by sinning. And, in the Bible, we always have temptations to do certain things. Some are seen as morally right, and wrong. But of course, I guess since we're talking about biology, but he's saying that our lives are just based on chemical reactions. Then, do you believe that there are any internal states where just reacting to external stimulations?
Yeah, so I learned about this a few days ago. I can't remember exactly what it's called. My memory is really not doing the best for me today. But I personally believe that we do have reactions, and there's nothing is guaranteed. I think that I don't believe in destiny. I don't believe that one thing is definitely going to happen because of the past things that's happened. But I do believe that we have some kind of I do believe we have some kind of reaction because of past trauma that we've had. But the human, I don't think we're conscious, but I think we're sentient. I think we're sentient, so when we are present, that 5% of the time, we can consciously make a decision from what we're doing. So I don't think it's that we're predictable and that there's a 100% chance that we're doing something, right? Because let's say someone is to go through all the trauma that we've had. Like, let's say I'm pretty sure there are a few identical twins who've gone through, like, pretty much the exact same life, but they don't do the exact same things, right? So I don't think it's that there's one set truth. I don't think that humans have one set principles, but I believe that it's partially genetically randomized. It's part of trauma, not randomized, but set. But I think there's also some part of human sentience of strive, of all these different things that you can have that kind of randomize it and bring it out a little bit more. Does that make sense? Yeah. Um, yeah, so just to add a little bit more onto that, I think there's a common misconception that a lot of people have, and that's that, or at least I did in the past. Remember, I can only speak for myself, but I would look out and I get spaced out really easy. I'm like, oh well, they're always so present, right? They always know what they're doing, but the fact of the matter is, I was looking into this a few weeks ago. I was reading, and it said that people are only present 95% of their day, or at least on average, right? So when we're doing things, a lot of the time it's 95%. It's on autopilot, and I think that's when we are pretty much genetically and traumally set, right? I think that's when we have pretty much 100% chance because we're not following our free will. We're not following our sentience. But then we are actually present, when we are absorbed in the moment, when we are thinking about what we're about to do. I think that's different. I think that's when we're actually thinking like, oh, do I want to log off this meeting right now? Do I want to backflip off into my window? Do I want to do a handstand in this suit? I think that is not randomized. I think that is 100% fully, like, or not 100%, but kind of a 50-50 thing, where we don't toss a coin up, but we decide which one we're going to do based off of what we've done in the past, experiences, and predictions for the future. All right. Do you want me to go on to the next question?
Sure.
All right. Do you have anything else to add?
Well, we had a lot of arguments about that in class. A lot of existentialism and talks about determinism. So what you talked about a lot about is determinism, behavioral determinism, there's this guy named Ian Skinner, and basically says robots and we respond to external stimulus, and that's necessarily have free will, just response to anything to us. Jim Fallon is a psychologist or neuroscience and he believed that all our actions are determined by our genetic structure, our brain structure. But then there's but then with the ideas of determinism, they believe that free will doesn't exist because these things are true, then one doesn't have free will. But then a lot of us, we thought that we would have free will, but those two factors are also intertwined. It's I guess a clash between free will and forces. But a lot of people, when they figure out what their free will is, basically want to just do random things.
Yeah.
They want to have free will. Like there's this guy named Peter Dostoevsky, who's a Russian writer and existentialist, and he believed that, and with all the advancements in psychology and science, that people look for ways to make their life in order to achieve certain things. But he thought that this gets rid of the most important parts of his life, which was simply free. Like that he would try to obtain that free will even if it hurts. So I guess that would pretty much involve just jumping out the window.
Yeah.
But the thing about these philosophies are, according to his definition, is the perfect life. Like Ian Skinner believed that if you have all the elements for flexible things, you can create a structure much like Dostoevsky that where people like do all these things or these ways. But then that's just according to his beliefs, and he's also being influenced by external stimuli, so he could be biased as well. And even if determinism is true, then we have no way of knowing for sure because we're all human beings bound and responding to external stimuli.
All right.
I'm not saying that you would.
No. I know you're saying that hypothetically, but I think you raised a good question. And it's kind of a mixture between presence, the good life, and determinism, and actual and presence beyond, I guess, determinism, right? So I think I'm first gonna there are a lot of questions there. So I'm first gonna answer the good life question. I don't think there's one universal way to be happy. I think we're all structured differently. I think the way we think is all different. So I remember in about 5th grade, I'd ask myself this question. I was like, what is the point of life? How do I become happy? And I think it was maybe 6 months to 10 months ago, I figured out, it was an aha moment. I was like, oh, the meaning of life is to literally find your meaning. I wasn't taking it seriously when people were like, oh yeah, what you gotta do is find your meaning. But I was like, oh, that's too easy. How could it be that easy? But it literally is as simple as just finding your meaning, doing all the small things in life. trying to be more present. I've started meditating more often to try to become more present, right? So I think that's a big part with it. Um, and I think you can still live a good life even if you are a determinist, even if you think that everything is already guaranteed. Because even if that is true, even if you think that everything that happens to you is already genetically coded, you can still appreciate the things that are happening. And of course, you can change your beliefs, but you can always. I can't remember the exact saying, but it pretty much goes that people think with that what they want to think, right? Um, so I think you could change your mindset. Mindsets are always changeable, but if you want to live with a determinist mindset, then you can still be happy. You can still look outside. You can still go on a nice walk, right? Because that's set by destiny, of course. So I think that all of this ties together with having a good life. I think all of this ties together with a greater meaning of achievement, a greater meaning of happiness. Um, so I think I think in the end that happiness is a kind of chemical in our brain. I think that we are set to do things. I mean, not that we're set to do things, but that our consciousness, our genetic code, I still believe that, is always going to drive us toward doing something. When we sit back and actually think, I think that we are actually striving out to do something. And in short, that's how I believe to be happy. I believe that we have to appreciate, I believe we have to think, and I believe we have to have presence, but I also think that our past, our genes all have things to do with how we enact on these things. All right. Do you want me to roll into the next question? Yeah. I suggest anyone do it. I've gotten a few of my friends to start doing it, and they're like, damn, this is actually helping out. Um, and what I've noticed is, like, I don't have much time on my hands, so I try to do it in the car. So I'll put in my earbuds so I can't hear anything. I'll just breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. 10 minutes, and I come out. I'm one calmer. I'm two more present, and for three, I feel accomplished, and I'm ready to actually go on with the day because now I can actually look at my friends and not like totally like I can be more present with them. I can actually be there when they're talking to me. I can actually keep eye contact. I can actually fully talk to them and have a better conversation with them, hold a conversation even better. So I think it's really helpful, and especially even before games. Um, the meeting will end in 10 minutes, so I'm going to try to close this in about the next, by 5:20. By then, we'll kind of way off a little bit. All right? Okay. I'm going to go check and see if there are any questions. Oh, hold up. It says that they can't hear anything from me. Oh, that's weird. Sorry. So, desktop audio. Alright. Alright, now I gotta put it in an audio input. This is such a shame. We went that long without having anything in. Alright. Now I think that they should be able to, can you hear me now? Alright. I guess we'll go with this. Alright. So there haven't been any more questions asked in chat. I'm gonna go to the next one. So it actually kind of links with what we were talking about earlier. What do you think is the meaning of the good life? Yeah, of the quote good life.
there isn't really an objective good life that everyone can agree on. So I don't really know about that. What about you?
Um, so the way I see the quote "good life" is when I'm talking to someone. It's just as I said earlier, all the small things in life. I think that really leads to a good life. And with modern media, with just everything that's happening right now, and especially when I was a kid, it's a lot more different. When I'm a kid, I'm a lot more happy. Ignorance is bliss, of course. Um, just as I learn more, I can see myself getting less happy. But I always think that there are ways to counteract that. Last year, I was pretty much at the lowest point of my life because I didn't really have any guidance. I didn't take too many things seriously. But I started actually appreciating small things. I started actually meditating. I started gratitude journaling and just reflecting about yourself more often. Just thinking about yourself, I think, is like by far one of the most helpful things that I've done for myself. Hold up.
Yeah, that's good though that you found out, your meaning in life, like your meaning of the good life.
Yeah. And I'm taking a course right now. I'd suggest you to take it as well. It's called The Science of Well-Being, and it's pretty much just balancing out everything that you've ever done in your whole life, right? Like, it taught me to try to get more sleep. Sleep's more important than you think. It's taught me to be nicer, be as nice as you can to other people. Gratitude journaling, as I said earlier, and working your hardest in pretty much anything so that you can feel more accomplished. Of course, I believe this to an extent. I don't think you should work yourself to death. I don't believe you should belabor yourself too much. But I think always a challenge is something that's good to have in your life. It's a good thing to have in everyday life and something good to conquer. It gives you meaning.
Yeah. Where's the course? Where'd you find it?
If you go on Coursera, you can go right there. On a website, of course, and you'd go on Coursera, you'd make an account, and then you can go on search, press, or go on Science of Wellbeing. It's a course offered by Yale. It's completely free,
Oh, cool.
and I'd totally suggest you to take it.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Hold up, I'm going on my account real quick to see if they can hear us. Whoa. I don't know why it's not loading. All right, they can hear us.
Where's the?
All right, that's good. Okay. Back to the next question. We have about 5 minutes left, so I just want to ask one more, and then we can wrap it all up. This is a good one. What in life, or actually, hold up. What do you think is consciousness? I think this is going to be a whole thing about presence. This whole talk.
Well, consciousness, if it is real, is probably the internal state, much unlike determinism, wherein one reacts to things, rather than like in determinism where you respond to external stimuli and there's one coded answer to everything based on your upbringing or your genetics. I believe that the consciousness is more of an internal state where you choose how you react to things rather than just responding to one objective answer.
All right.
Or
Yeah, I agree mostly, but I think, in my personal opinion, consciousness is true. As I said earlier, I think sentience is true. I think that we have a right and we have a wrong, and we can decide. I don't believe in the same consciousness that the Catholic Church or other churches talk about, but I believe that consciousness is tied with sentience. They're pretty much the same thing, and it's just the fact that I can say, oh, I'm talking to Ryan right now. I am doing XYZ. I can do XYZ. It's just the fact that you are there, the fact that we are sentient, that it is genuinely true. By definition, of course, these things can change, and what are words after all? It's just things we make up. So, by definition, it could eventually be different, and they are two separate words. So, who knows? Maybe a few thousand years ago, they were totally different. But as of right now, I kind of use those words intertwinably. But I would say for the most part, consciousness is just the fact that you are present. The thing that people have that other animals don't because of the way our brains work, the way that we're taught. I was also learning this yesterday. This is going to be the last thing I talk about with yesterday is when you're talking to a baby, you have to poke them, you have to give them attention, you have to clap, you have to show them different colors, to actually allow their brains to grow. So I think we are kind of raised into consciousness, and if you're to throw out some kid out in the jungle, they wouldn't be conscious. That's why you see so many people who are raised by wolves. They're just acting like wolves. They don't know what they're doing. They're just acting like animals, responding to stimuli. So I think that partially consciousness is created by other people, and without it, you can't get it. So maybe consciousness might be relying on other people, but I don't know 100% until more scientific studies come out for that.
Oh, that's an interesting viewpoint. Never heard that before, actually.
All
So, oh, okay.
You can keep going. No, you can keep going.
Oh, so there were actually some people who believe that consciousness is just the ability to know that we know, which is a mystery throughout all philosophy. How do we know that we know?
Yeah.
Socrates, as you said earlier, said the only true knowledge is knowing that you know nothing. But I mean, wouldn't Socrates technically have a? Actually, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but
It's all right.
I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting topic, consciousness.
It's very abstract with the way it's formed, because we've been around and we've probably been sentient for about maybe 10,000 years, I'd say, roughly. And the fact that we still don't 100% know what it is, I think that's the best part about it, right? Like, I think that's part of what individualism is all about. I think that individualism is a part of discovering your own consciousness, of discovering who you are. Because we pretty much know everyone's different. That's why we dress differently. That's why we act differently. So I believe that there is consciousness in the fact that we aren't all the same, the fact that we have different opinions. I'm going to finish on this because we have less than a minute. Thank you for allowing me to have you, and thank you for your time. To everyone who's watching this, thank you for being here. I'll see you later, Ryan. Have a nice day. Would you like to come on to this anytime in the future?